Joining us now, Congressman Dan Bishop from House Judiciary. Congressman, it's good to see you. Okay, so you were at the second day of hearings with Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas today. What was your take on his testimony?
That you can't penetrate his bureaucratic mask to produce a glint of recognition about the humanitarian and security catastrophe that he's created on our southwestern border. You just can't get through.
Why?
He just persists in insisting that the border is secure, that we have operational control of the border, and he produces these amazing misses. He told Jim Jordan that he didn't know how we had disposed of the 41 people on the terror watch list who had been encountered at the border, where they had been, whether any of them had been released into the country. Couldn't answer that. Couldn't say what he'd say to the American people who don't understand, who are suffering as victims of crime, for all the people he's unnecessarily and at his discretion released into the country. He's creating a disaster, and with the disappearance of Title 42, it's getting ready to move from a flood to, just a deluge. I don't even know how to get a bigger word, but he just seems not to care or not be concerned about the impacts on the American people, no matter how you go at it.
Let's watch what happened today. Let's take a listen. Look at this.
My constituents want you impeached because they believe you've committed treason. Are you ashamed for what you've done to this country?
In response to what you have just said, it is so profoundly offensive on so many different levels.
Now, 800,000 people have encountered your CBP agents, and those folks have been released into the country. Like, some of those people are going to commit crimes, aren't they?
Congressman, may I have a moment to answer your questions?
Will some of the 800,000 commit crimes, yes or no?
Undoubtedly.
Have any of the 42 illegal migrants on the terrorist watch list or no-fly list encountered on our southwest border been released into the United States?
I that data to you with respect to the disposition of each one. I do not know the answer to your question.
You do not know whether they have been released or not into the country. That's your testimony.
Ranking Member Jordan, as I've said before, I will provide you the data.
I'm sorry, we're a generation from 9/11, right? How does he not have that data there?
Well, exactly, Liz. That was a point that I made. We have, they say, at least 600,000 gotaways, people that didn't come through any kind of screening, and they're in the country. Nobody knows where. Ramzi Youssef, who blew up the World Trade Center, it came through in a similar fashion. Was actually screened and released into the country because he had articulated a credible fear of persecution if he went back to the country he came from. What about the 600,000? And I said, what are we waiting for, a mushroom cloud? And the Secretary, again, was too angry to be able to respond to that. He ought to be mad on behalf of the American people at the danger that they're being subjected to, not mad at questions.
Yeah, so, he's saying he finds that offensive. What's more offensive than a child getting slaughtered or murdered because of a criminal illegal alien? That's going on in our country. What's more offensive than another terrorist coming across and doing another 9/11? Nothing is more of a violation of someone's civil rights than sitting at your desk and being blown up by a terrorist. The border is not under control. They wiped out all of Trump's border policies. They created this crisis. They gutted ICE. They lowered the standard for asylum seekers. They are significantly reducing detention beds. And Biden keeps saying that we inherited this crisis. He's been around since the Nixon era. He's been a senator and also a vice president for 8 years, since the 1970s. This new disinformation board, Congressman, they're talking about at DHS, now headed by Nina Jankowicz, she touted Trump-Russia collusion and downplayed the Hunter Biden controversy. Is this board going to correct Mayorkas' own misinformation and the White House's topspin?
Liz, there's something else. We could barely touch on that given the scale of the disaster at the border. But this disinformation board, it sounds like something right out of 1984, the Ministry of Truth. And yes, of course, wouldn't you predict it? The person they've picked to run it is someone who's bought into all the big disinformation stories. She said the Russian dossier was believable. She said the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation. And that's who they decided to make the, princess of disinformation control.
You guys are in charge of the purse. We spend, U.S. taxpayers spend tens of billions of dollars on an army, thousands of public affairs officials already working at government agencies doing the whitewash, the Ministry of Whitewash and topspin. Why do we need this board? This is a waste. Your final word.
Oh, it's much worse than a waste, Liz. That's the whole point. They're trying to turn the terrorism control, so the mechanisms against terrorism in the country, into something where they're fighting their enemies on information. It is dangerous.
Got it. Congressman Bishop, come back soon.